Neither one is necessarily better or worse. It's when you get okay with that they're all important. They're all part of the cycle of your life, just like it's the cycle of AC current flowing over a power line, just like it's the balance in the movie, in the story between like the boring, the mundane, the whatever, with the tension, the height, and the suspense, that all of that leads to the beautiful mystery that we get to experience and go through. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Today, I'm going to be talking about Goldilocks. Why Goldilocks? Because she knew the importance of something being not too hot, not too cold, not too hard, not too soft, but being just right. And how this is very important to living a long and joyful and productive and happy life. I've been noticing a lot. I've seen in my life, I've seen in other people's lives. There's a lot going on. It's storming today. There's a fire engine just cruising around. I live near the ocean, so it's kind of interesting to see a giant fire engine go by the little teeny road that goes by the ocean. But even this giant storm, which came through, it's still going on. It knocked out my power for about a couple hours. I was prepared. I had a backup battery generator. So, because I've had power outages that have lasted, day and a half here, which I know in some parts of the US, some parts of the world, they've like, I wish I only had, a day and a half power outage. But, one of the reasons I love living where I live is because there's balance. Where I used to live, which was in the Sacramento area of California, in the summer, it'd pretty much just be fucking hot. And in the winter, it would just be fucking cold. Where I live now, it's often either too hot or too cold. Some days it's sunny, some days it's cloudy, and some days there's some clouds, and then some days there's some sun. There's balance. I love it. There's balance. As opposed to too much of one thing, not enough of the other. And I found this in my life, and I've seen this with lots of people where often they're focusing, and rightly so. I'm not saying don't focus on it, don't want it, but that happiness. Oh, I want happiness, or I want money, I want abundance, or I want prestige. And the thing is that it's not about not having those things, it's about having them and having what is also not them. Because if we focus too much on what we don't have, we end up being out of balance and actually just having more of what we don't have. I've talked about this before, and many of you have experienced this, where the things that you want now, you've wanted for a long time. And part of that is because you haven't been the person that has come into the right balance to actually have what you want while also having not having it, or being okay with not having it so that you can actually go and have it. Because when we're so attached to something, it becomes almost debilitating, or it becomes its own thing in and of itself. And I've been really getting into some David Lynch stuff. If you're not familiar with David Lynch, been around since I think the early mid 80s. A couple things he's really famous for is he's really famous for Twin Peaks, which was a show that aired on ABC, like prime time, late prime time. It's about the mystery of who killed Laura Palmer. And then he's also known for another movie, which was supposed to be a show, kind of like Twin Peaks, but didn't, so it just became a movie, Mulholland Drive. And the thing that David Lynch is always trying to get through in his works, at least my understanding, is this concept of balance. Like this murder mystery of Twin Peaks of Laura Palmer, it was a mix of everything. Nothing had ever been like it on TV before, and it'd almost be one of those things like if you saw it now, it's still good, but you might also go like, well, this isn't anything new. I mean, this is a murder mystery, but like a zaniness and apple pie. Oh, actually, it's cherry pie and coffee. What's the big deal? But at the time, it was there to bring balance to television, because it used to just be that there would just be this profanity of basically consumable violence on TV. And what Twin Peaks did was it's like, you're going to have some of that, but we're also going to have some of the mundanity of day-to-day life in this small little mountain town of a diner where there's just simple cherry pie and coffee and people getting together and showing love. But then that's also going to be balanced with the seedy underbelly that's going on, the drugs, and this show even had prostitution and murder and all sorts of stuff. And the point of it was that it really is the balance, the back and forth between sort of the dark and the light. And we as humans, we are also meant to sort of like go back and forth between the feelings of joy, satisfaction, ease, love. And then, also there's an importance to acknowledge and experience the fear, the sadness, the grief, the loss, the longing, right? The anger, the rage. Like these are two sides of the same coin. If you don't have the other side, you're actually not even getting the coin. And as humans, we're electrical beings. And my background is electrical engineering, and it's really, things are not static in most electrical systems, even though it's sort of interesting. A lot of the devices we use, they use DC, direct current supplies, where it's a steady voltage, and then however much the voltage doesn't vary. Yet our bodies, what's an EKG or an electrocephalogram, ECG, that's showing the variations in the various voltages going on through our human system. And when we're talking about sharing big amounts of power across large distances, how is it done? With AC, alternating current that isn't just one voltage, it changes with time. That changing with time allows large amounts of power to go long distances. And so when we as humans tap into, because there's many principles of the universe, but one of my favorites is as above, so below, as within, so without, which means that we see rhymes or reflections in things at various levels, where we see that how something is outside is also happening inside. So if we see that, oh, large amounts of power conveyed through AC voltage and current, and how am I living my life? Am I allowing there to be alternation between light and dark, positive and negative? And with Twin Peaks, where this comes in, is if you take alternating current that goes through a cycle of light and a cycle of dark, what you end up getting, if you rectify that, meaning that you only allow the positive, right? And I'll see if we can get some graphics here to show this. I pulled some, that you will get two peaks, twin peaks. So twin peaks is there to show the two phases of alternating current, which is a complete cycle of alternating current. And we are here to live in complete cycles where we experience not just the sunny, gorgeous days, but the cloudy, rainy, the power's out, things like that, because that allows us to have the contrast and the experience, the joy of life, which might include, and I've been experiencing this more and more, where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sad that I've lost this relationship, or that this isn't going for me. Yet it shows that there's something I care about, something I want, and being able to find the joy in that. And so Goldilocks, she really did have something going there, because it wasn't that yes, she knew the middle way, but she also didn't avoid trying things. She was open to trying something that was a little too hard, trying something that was a little too soft. Yet she realized that it was the middle way, which is often, for those that have studied, Buddhism, the Buddha, one of his great teachings was this concept of the middle way, not too much, not too little. And I got to kind of experience, sort of this middle path at a recent workshop. It was ended up being just phenomenal, where I had such great opportunities to meet some great people, but also to you, you, say what I want, say what I don't want, to go, I've had enough of this, or ooh, give me more of that. And it was awesome. The last they were, what were they calling them? Section, what are they calling them? Sections, system, structure. The last structure we did, or exercise, there was an element of, there were three groups, and three people got to choose which they needed to choose which group they would be a part of. And so, who are they going to partner with? And basically so there's three groups and three people. And for me, they took us and they said, okay, one of you is going to have complete choice. The other, it's going to be up to destiny. And the other one's going to be a little in between, which means somebody gets to choose first, somebody goes second, somebody goes third. Somebody immediately was like, I want to go last. Somebody else is like, I want to go first. And I was like, I want to go first. And then the facilitator's like, well, now we just kind of like see who feels into, they're okay with going second. And I knew that I was okay being middle. I knew it would work out for me. And so the first person goes out, gets their group. And so now there's only two groups left. And I go out and I see what was group one, and that's already taken, and these other two groups. And I'm like, the group that I want, is even better than I could have imagined, is here. And it ended up being a great exercise, great end of the workshop, great connection, great use of my voice. It was just a great experience, this workshop. But to just kind of like that middle way, that like I don't need to have full choice necessarily, and I also don't need to completely leave it up to chance. Having a little bit, and this is what life often is, where we don't actually know everything. We'll never get to know everything. We'll never have perfect information. Yet we know some things and we have agency. We do have choice. So allowing that simultaneously, like I'm going to choose, but I'm also going to be open to that some stuff isn't up to me. And often that what isn't up to us has a big thing to do with timing, where it's like you don't know exactly when you're going to get what you want. But it's important to put out what you want, because you're likely going to get it at some point. And if you don't know what you want, that's one of the things to work with. And if you do know what you want, but you're not getting it, that's when it's time to pay attention to the feedback. Because again, maybe you're out of balance. You're not acknowledging the things that need to be acknowledged. You're focusing too far on one end and not the other. Neither one is necessarily better or worse. It's when you get okay with that they're all important. They're all part of the cycle of your life, just like it's the cycle of AC current flowing over a power line, just like it's the balance in the movie, in the story, between like the boring, the mundane, the whatever, with the tension, the height, and the suspense. That all of that leads to the beautiful mystery that we get to experience and go through. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up and thank you so much, and encourage you to look for ways that you can find balance. How can you let your own little inner Goldilocks come out and look for balance? What's something that you've been avoiding? And maybe it's time to like lean into. And you don't have to lean into this stuff alone. That's where, coaches like me, other coaches out there, therapists, friends, that if we're open to the balance, it's out there waiting, because our body's in balance while we're alive. And so we're meant to do more balance. Yeah, sometimes there's coughing, sometimes there's not, sometimes there's tears, but not necessarily tears of sorrow, sometimes tears of joy, or sometimes just tears of the body having a response that it needs to have. Either way, I encourage you to be open to what is, instead of trying to push away one to make sure you get the other. Look at maybe what you're avoiding, because what you're avoiding likely is on the path to what it is that you truly want, which is going to be that joy, that ease, that love that you can have, that you deserve, just because you're you, and you can have it just because you want it. But it is going to require looking at the full cycle of human experience. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It can be an amazing thing, but it is something that is going to be different, and different can sometimes just be difficult. Only at first. It gets better and better. Little by little, the middle way becomes easeful. And just like a tree, when it's growing up and sprouts one shoot, gets a little out, another, sprouts another, goes a little bit, it's back and forth. It's alternating. And it's how growth works. We see it in nature. We see it in our bodies. And when we start to allow this in our life can happen in amazing, fantastical ways. And it's going to impact our business. It's going to impact our relationships. It's going to impact our health. And I want that amazing, beneficial impact for you. So if you got any questions, let me know. Send some messages over on the social media or through the email, which is going to come up. Love to hear what you think. What's an area of your life where you could find some more balance? Yeah, and balance doesn't necessarily just mean all the good, but giving some space to maybe some stuff that needs to be looked at that you've been avoiding. So let me know. I'd love to hear. With that, thank you and good day. Thanks for tuning in to Engineering Emotions and Energy with Justin Wink, Ph.D. Today's episode resonated with you? Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback not only supports the show, but also helps others find us and start their journey of emotional and energetic mastery. You can also help by sharing this podcast with someone you think will love it just as much as you do. Together, we're engineering more amazing lives.